Good morning to everybody who supports the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, Jason Lloyd. That is your Cleveland Cavaliers. They make history last night, defeating the Chicago Bulls and clinching the one seed for the first time in franchise history without LeBron James. We know Dan Gilbert is thrilled about that, and I am thrilled to be joined now by Jason Lloyd for a new edition of Cavs and Coffee, the ultimate Cavalier show, whatever you want to call it. But Jason, the reality is the Cavs have clinched the number one seed of the Eastern Conference with 3 games to go.
That's pretty good. Obviously, they have to be thrilled with how this season has gone, with how last night gone to get this done and wrapped up and out of the way. They can be strategic now in how they approach these last 3 games. There's nothing on the line. Look at the calendar, plan out rest days. It's been a great year, and it certainly, I think, has exceeded almost all of their expectations. I think that's fair to say. I think Kenny was pretty blunt about that. He has been all year long and again last night. We can get into that a little bit. You know, this is his first. I just think that there's a lot. I'm in the middle of writing a column about it for The Athletic, but I just think that there's, Donovan's never made a conference finals. There was one team in Utah he felt like had a legitimate chance to win a championship, but that's really it in his entire career. Kenny's never coached a team like this. He's never coached a team that could viably win a championship. And he had the one half season with Kyrie, but that was not a legitimate team that truly was going to really contend for a title. And Kenny's pretty honest about it. So I think that this is sort of rare air for the leaders of this team too, that they have to prove to themselves that they're ready to handle this and they can do this. Because everyone has said, we know it's all great, but we haven't accomplished anything yet. We haven't won anything yet. And they're right. So now the fun begins, though. And, I think you and I agree. I think we've seen the last of Donovan until the playoffs start. It's probably the right call, given his ankle. I don't think we'll see him again. I think his regular season is over, and it probably should be.
I agree. Kenny alluded to the fact before the game last night that if they beat Chicago, which they ended up doing, that result would dictate a lot of their rest patterns for the final 3 games of the regular season. They end up beating Chicago. We talked to Donovan a little bit in the locker room afterwards. He seemed to be in high spirits, but Kenny said if he's even 5% hurt, they are not going to risk it in 3 absolutely, and when I say absolute, I mean absolutely meaningless games now down the stretch. Yeah. There is 0, nothing, nada to gain for Cleveland. I think that they're going to see Darius and Evan play an A game. They'll probably sit 2 of the 3, Jason. Jared will play in all 3. We'll see how many minutes he plays in all 3s in his quest to complete his 82-game season. As for the other guys, Ty Jerome, we're going to see a heavy dosage of him as he tries to work his way back from that knee injury. He was awesome last night. So we'll see how the rest patterns go. But the reality is the Cavs have clinched the 1 seed. They are still a game or 2 behind OKC for the overall 1 seed. So that's probably out of the picture. And frankly, I don't think the Cavs truly care about that overall 1 seed at home court in the NBA Finals, if that were to be the matchup. But my big takeaway from last night was, Jason, the Cavs shot awesome in the first half. In the third quarter, they started to mess around a little bit, and Chicago cut it back down to single digits. They were up as much as 27, and then it got cut down to 8 in the third quarter. And then like this, literally the snap of a finger, Cleveland pushed it back up to 20 points and won easily. And that's that flip of the switch that we have been talking about with this Cavaliers team all season. Do they have the ability to, when push comes to shove, say, it's go time? And the Chicago Bulls are not the Boston Celtics, and they are not the Milwaukee Bucks or the Indiana Pacers, the New York Knicks, or the Detroit Pistons, or any of the teams in the Eastern Conference that I think can actually push Cleveland to a playoff series.
Yeah.
But without Donovan last night, and we'll get to Darius and Evan and all those guys in a second, without Donovan last night, that game got a little bit too hairy for my liking in the third quarter because the Cavs went away from everything that had been working. They started playing sloppy. Defensively, they weren't rotating nearly as well. Chicago was making some shots. Give them some credit. But then to see them all of a sudden say, yeah, not happening tonight. We're going to clinch the 1 seed. And when we turn it on, you have nothing you can do to stop us. That was pretty cool to see because in real time, you could feel it happening. It started with Darius and Ty Jerome, and it was capped off, that initial run, with the Ty Jerome to DeAndre Hunter transition alley-oop. And it doesn't mean they can do it in the playoffs. And I hope they don't go through 10-minute stretches in the playoffs where they kind of take their foot off the gas. But knowing you have in your back pocket the ability to flip the switch in-game, not pre-game, not after a loss, but in-game after a bad stretch, it was pretty cool to see last night. And a nice way, I thought, for the Cavs to cap off what has been a historic regular season thus far.
Yeah, it's what the elite teams do. We've talked about it for years on the show, is you can play hard for 4 minutes and win the game. But you have to be really, really, really good to be able to do that. And I believe this Cavs team is really, 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 really good. And the one thing, you say there's nothing left to play for, and you're right. The only thing, and I don't think this matters at all, but the only thing is matching the franchise wins record of 66. They would have to win out. And I haven't heard it come up. I don't think anybody, obviously I think they know what the record is. I don't think anybody cares. I don't think they should, frankly, because the team that won 66 games didn't even reach the finals. So it doesn't matter. So no one even talks about that team. I think that was the year Shaq was here. I meant to double check and look. They went 66-16, set a franchise record for wins. And I remember, that's before I was covering them full time. But I remember Dan Gilbert saying after the season, it wasn't a successful season. Like, nobody cares that we won 66 games because they lost. And that might have been the year they lost the conference finals to Orlando. Yeah, that would not have been the Shaq year, though. I don't remember. They all run together from back then. It doesn't matter. But the point was they won 66 games and nobody remembers them. And, the Utah team that Donovan was the top seed, 2020, 2021, which frankly, I had no recollection of that season because,
it was the COVID year?
Well, it was the year that was altered. It wasn't the year that was stopped by COVID. It was the year that started late. It was the next year. But it certainly, we were still in the midst of a lot of weirdness. So, a lot of sports get shoved to the back burner. I didn't realize that team went 52-20 and then lost the second round against the Clippers.
And was that Jason, real quick, was that the series where Donovan averaged like 40 points a game in the playoffs? Do you remember?
Yeah.
And got outdueled by
I think
Jamal Murray, or was that the bubble?
No, that was the bubble.
I'll look it up while you're going.
That was the bubble because they lost to the Clippers in the second round. They beat Memphis in the first round, and then they were up 2-0 on the Clippers, and then LA came back and won 4 straight to knock them out of the second round. And I think Donovan had like 39 in game 6, and Utah built a big lead, but then blew it. And Kawhi played well, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, they were up 2-0 in the series and then lost 4 in a row. And the series he averaged a gajillion points was the COVID year when they lost to
bubble.
Denver.
Yeah. So, and again, like, you go in with these high hopes thinking you can win a championship and you don't make it out of the second round. So now is where, and that's why I like on UCSS or on here, I never got worked up over anything that happens in March. I've seen too many really good teams. When you get to this point in the season, it's like, all right, let's just get there. And everybody's a little bit banged up. Everybody's tired. Everybody's tired of the grind. And you're going to go through these lulls. But what matters is Donovan's going to have 2 weeks off now between him spraining his ankle and the next game that he plays in. More than likely to be right around 2 weeks. Their next game that matters will probably be in about 10 days. So that's plenty of time to get guys off their feet. They can get some practices in while the play-in tournament is going on. They can. You're not going to necessarily know who your opponent is, so you can't dig in on that. But you can work on ATOs, and you can work on late game situations, and you can work on all these little things that Kenny again said last night. We've had 3 practices in 46 days or whatever. I think I have that right.
Yep.
It's impossible. I mean, you have shoot-arounds, but it's impossible to really install anything or to clean things up when you just don't have that practice time. And I thought he made the interesting point last night when he's talking about Damari Carroll being a former player on the staff, and Damari saying, you putting his player hat on and saying, if I'm a player, I'm checking, I don't want to do this right now. And as a coach, I remember Mike Brown doing that. Mike would try and pour everything in when he was here, and we got to get this in, we got to get this in, we got to get this in. And when Mike went to Golden State, what he realized is I'm doing this for me so that I feel better about myself, but we don't necessarily need that right now. And I thought that was really astute on Kenny's part to sort of lean in on Damari, and Damari say, no, now's not a good time. Yeah. Because you know that you're going to wrap the 1 seed, and you are going to have a couple of practice days here coming up soon where you can dig in, where you are going to have their full focus. You don't have their full focus right now. It may sound silly to say that, but you don't. But when everything is wrapped up, when you're waiting on your opponent, you'll have their full attention at practice, and you can really sort of dig in on some things that you want to clean up, and that's a better time to do it. So that's a long-winded way of saying I think they're in a really good spot. I don't think this Donovan thing is anything serious at all to where it's lingering. I think 2 weeks off his feet is perfect. I think it'll be fine come game one. And now's an opportunity to get all these guys off their feet a little bit. And you and I were talking as we were leaving the arena last night, and I said 3 games isn't ideal for me. I would prefer 2. But really, it's not about the games. It's the days. You just count the days on the calendar. The number of games really doesn't matter in terms of how many games are left, who rests, who plays. It's really just the number of days and trying to stagger the days to make sure that these guys are 100% and ready to go when the playoffs begin.
Yeah, last point on the game last night and kind of the 1 seed wrap up here before we dive into Darius, who had a great game last night, and Evan Mobley's DPOY campaign. But speaking of Mobley, prior to this season, in his first 3 career years in the NBA, he had just 1 game where he made at least 3 threes, Jason. Last night was his 13th game this season with 3 or more 3-point makes. I asked Kenny about it. I asked Evan about it. Kenny said, we needed to shoot even more. Not bad shots, but we need him to shoot those shots to open up the spacing in a playoff series when everything gets cramped down together. Evan said he always knew he was a good shooter. He just needed the confidence and the belief from his coaches to be able to let it fly at the rate he has. And you go from 1 over 240-ish games to 13 and 70. The shooting progress is real. It is tangible, and that is not the only reason Evan Mobley has jumped into the All-NBA discussion, but it has helped open up a lot of other facets in not only his game, but for this entire Cavaliers offense with his ability to consistently step beyond the arc and be a threat. So I just wanted to give Evan a shout out because the work he's put in as a shooter has not gone unnoticed.
Yeah, and I would like to dig in a little bit on that comment. I didn't even hear him say that, but you sent a flag up when he says he needed the confidence from the coaches. They were trying to get him to shoot these in the past. So I would push back a little bit on that if that's what he's saying, because maybe they're putting him in better spots this year, but it's been a thing for a couple of years that they've wanted him to shoot more threes and give him the green light to shoot. So that part of it's interesting to me. But regardless, he has certainly taken to another level that you and I thought he had. I didn't know that he was going to get there this fast coming from where he was last year. I always thought this was in him, but I can't sit here and say I thought he was going to have this type of breakout year coming off the season that he had last year. I thought it would be more of it might take a little bit longer to get to this level because, I mean, I said again last night after the game, I believe when we get to the end of these playoffs and look back, no matter if it's 1 series, which I don't think it'll be 1 series, or if it's 3 or 4 series, Evan Mobley, I absolutely believe Evan Mobley will be the most important player to the Cavs in these playoffs.
We're going to talk about his DPOY campaign in 1 second, but first, today's episode of the Ultimate Cavalier Show is brought to you by Living for We. Gun violence is an epidemic. It is the leading cause of death for teenagers. And on this season of Living for We, we're asking what can be done to end cycles of violence in cities like Cleveland, where the shooters value their reputation over their own lives and see innocent bystanders as collateral for damage. Living for We is more than just a podcast. It's a resource for communities tied to chaos and ready to build peace. Living for We tells the real stories from these most affected and solutions from change makers in the community, the families, the parents, the victims, and everything in between. The mission is simple: empower communities to create safer neighborhoods free from gun violence by highlighting local heroes, connecting resources and solutions, and building bridges through honest, community-driven dialogue. Join hosts Marlene Harris-Taylor and Maisha Watkins every other Tuesday for a brand new episode of Living for We. Keep your head up. You can find this award-winning show wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch full episodes by searching for Living for We on YouTube. Okay, Jason, we put this in the rundown before yesterday's game, and it was Darius and his struggles from beyond the arc. Last night, Darius was incredible from beyond the arc. He had 28 points, made 6 3-pointers. He was 6 of 10 from beyond the arc. I had talked about in a little Twitter clip I did some of the Darius pre- and post All-Star numbers. This was from before last night. I focused on the floaters for the little video yesterday, Jason. His floaters down 22 percentage points pre to post All-Star break. His step back 3 numbers was down 17%, 41% pre-All-Star break, 24% post-All-Star break. He did make a couple yesterday, so that number has probably risen a percentage point or two, but still down a little bit. So what I thought we could do today, Jason, process over results. And I took 8 shots from Darius, 5 from before the All-Star break and 3 from after the All-Star break, not including last night's game, to see if he's getting to the right spots and just missing, or if there is something bigger at play here that is causing Darius Garland to struggle a little bit, because frankly, those numbers don't lie. Even after last night, the efficiency from Darius post-All-Star break compared to pre-All-Star break is not where it's at. So I'm going to play these clips, Jason. I'm going to put them full, and we'll just talk through them. Good look, bad look, and these are all of the step-back 3 variety. So you ready?
Yep.
This is the first make. This is from a game against Houston earlier in the season. Darius, step-back 3 from the wing, hits nothing but net. Big picture, Jason, good or bad look for Darius? Would you consider this a high-quality shot or not?
I think for him, it's a high-quality shot because he's comfortable shooting them. We've seen him throughout his career. He's comfortable shooting them. It's not really a catch-and-shoot-in rhythm type look, but he's open. He's got a clean look at it. It's kind of what he's known to do. Yeah,
no issue with that shot. That's something Kenny wants him to shoot.
I don't want everybody shooting that shot. I don't think that's a good shot for everybody. I think it's a good shot for him.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, if Sam Merrill's taking that shot, I hate it. If Isaac Okoro's taking that shot, I hate it. For Darius Garland, if they're going to play that screen with that defensive coverage where Amen Thompson kind of half steps out, that's a good shot for Darius Garland. It goes in. Now, we got a bunch of these, so we're going to run through them, and I want you guys to look for some of the differences in the shots that are going in versus the shots that aren't. Here's the second make against Phoenix from the first half. Step back 3 over Grayson Allen, buckets. Jason, once again, if they're going to play soft and give you the space to shoot it, it's a pretty good look for Darius, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's not a good look for a lot of people. But for him, he didn't need a whole lot of space. They go from a half of a double there to he's got a clean look. Like that probably would consider an open shot by NBA standards.
I would also agree. And Kenny Atkinson, I remember asking about that game, Darius' step backs. I forget who asked the question. Maybe it was Evan Dammerall. I'm not 100% sure. But Kenny said, those are good looks for Darius. We want him taking those shots. This is make number 3 against Minnesota. They go under the screen. Step back. It's a deep 3, Jason. But it's an open look here for Darius Garland. He buries it.
I mean, when you go under the screen and you leave a shooter open like that, he's going to shoot it every time.
Another good look. Make number 4 from Darius. This is against the Toronto Raptors, and his ball handling here is absurd. It's Grady Dick on a yo-yo. Whoop! Step back.
That's vintage. That is vintage Darius.
Yes.
Like when he's feeling it, when he's really in rhythm, like this is what he does. And that's a great look.
Great look. Makes it. Perfect. Here's the 5th make I pulled. This also from the same game against Toronto. Toronto goes under the screen, little sidestep, step back, whatever you want to qualify it as. In rhythm, on time, nothing but the bottom of the net.
Yeah, check mark.
So those are the 5 makes. Now I pulled 3 misses. 2 from the San Antonio game and 1 from the Sacramento game. I think those are the games they're from. Jason, when we look at these shots, the result is different. These next 3 are all misses. The first 5 are all makes. But is the process the same? Is he getting to the spots in the same capacity and just missing some of these? When I did the floater breakdown, my conclusion was he's getting to the same spots. He's just missing some shots. And that could be due to tired legs, little confidence issues, whatever it may be. But as long as he's getting to the spots, you don't want him changing the way he's playing. Now, for the 3-pointers, these are the recent iterations where he's been missing some of these shots. Do you still think these are high-quality looks, though, from Darius Garland? Here's the first miss against San Antonio. Little isolation, step back, bit of a contest. That one's not as open as some of the others were, Jason, but that's pretty similar to the shot.
I mean, it looks very similar to the first 5 shots you just showed.
Pretty similar, right?
Yeah.
Misses it. It's a good contest from Julian Champagne. There's 12 seconds on the shot clock. It's not the greatest look in the world, but I certainly don't think that qualifies as a bad look in Kenny Atkinson's mind. Number 2, against the Kings. It's the exact same move he pulled on Grady Dick that he made in the 2 clips we saw before.
Yep.
This time, Trey Lyles, the big, gets the switch. Step back, fires it a little short. In my mind, that's a great look for Darius, one that he made each of those first 5 clips and just missed in this instance.
Yeah, no issue.
Number 3, against Memphis. gets the switch, makes him dance, creates space, and just hits back iron. Jason, I'm going to play this one more time, and then I'm going to play the Grady Dick clip. And you tell me how similar those two plays look. That's a miss, and this was a make. Is the process still right and Darius just missing? And/or should the Cavs be worried that Darius is not getting to the spots needed to be able to convert these high-quality looks in your mind?
But this is exactly why we were talking about on UCSS a couple weeks ago, where I'm like, it's a make or miss league. And if you are getting the right shots, if you're in rhythm, if you're not forcing anything, if you're not putting up bad shots, you kind of have to live with the results. And this is a perfect sort of illustration of that, of sometimes they're going to go in and sometimes they're not. And you really can't control that part. And yeah, these guys are the best in the world, but they're still going to miss and they're still going to go through slumps. And there's really nothing you can do about it. You just hope that the slump doesn't come starting April 16th or April 19th. And really that's all you can control, is running your sets, getting to your spots, and taking shots in rhythm. And some of those shots, they don't look like rhythm shots for a lot of NBA players. They are rhythm shots for Darius. And he has proven over his career he can make those shots. So you want him taking those, like the Grady Dick one. Dick actually played pretty good defense on him. And then Darius just sort of got him at the end with the step back. But I mean, look, what else do you want from Grady Dick? Like, he's doing everything right, and then he just sort of takes the step back and loses him there at the end. But, Grady at that point is trying to keep Darius in front of him. And Darius just made a great play and made a great shot. So I have no issue I've never been concerned with any sort of shooting slump. I've had people texting me, oh no. I'm like, guys, again, do we need to go back and review 2014 to 2018, how bad some of those Cavs teams looked and went to the finals? And I didn't even realize you threw out a great stat the other day on UCSS. Denver, the year they won the championship, was a 500 team.
Yep.
I forget now the time span, if it was March or the end of March or April or whatever it was.
March into April. They were basically a 500 team over their last 20 games of the season.
This happens every year. This happens all the time. And I remember the first couple times like getting sucked into it, thinking, oh man, this is bad. This is really bad. And then you get to the end of April, you're like, no one's even talking. You think we're going to be talking about this stretch once the playoff opponent is announced? No one's going to care. It's not going to matter anymore. And I would say the same about Darius, that, he makes a couple shots in the playoffs. Nobody's going to care about this. And when you can illustrate and lay out like that, guys, it's the same looks. They're good shots for him. They may not be good shots for everyone, but for his game, for his skill set, for the way that he can create space for himself, these are good looks for him. And if they're not going down, well, at least it's March, or at least it's early April when they're not going down, and that's okay.
Darius said post-game yesterday after he made 6 threes, I needed that. I needed to get back to being myself. I needed to see a couple go through the rim. Kenny Atkinson talked about the fact that they changed up their pregame shooting drills because they've, as a team, been in a shooting slump. They were number 1 in the NBA in three-point percentage as a team entering the month of March. Jason, they were 27th in March in three-point shooting percentage. The 3 teams behind them are 3 teams actively trying to lose. 3 teams literally tanking. They are pooping for Coop, is what they're calling it in the draft lottery world right now. So the Cavs do not belong in that conversation. For Darius, the process has been pretty good. After he got that hip injury against the Knicks, I thought there was a 5-game stretch, 5, 6, I don't remember the exact number of games, where he wasn't getting downhill as frequently, wasn't getting his paint touches. Those numbers were down. And when that's down, Jason, that's when my red flag for Darius goes up. But after looking at floaters pre and post All-Star break and looking at these threes pre and post All-Star break, for the most part, he's still getting to the same spots that he had been getting to prior to the injury and prior to the slump, and he was just missing. And in March, they played 16 games in 29 days.
Yep.
They did not sleep in their own bed in Cleveland more than 2 nights in a row the entire month. You can say, sure, they're flying first class and they get the best hotels in the world and they get all the recovery and physical therapy. That is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a toll. And I do think the Cavs, and the numbers back it up by being the 27th best three-point shooting team in the month of March, has some tired legs. And I don't want to call them dead legs because they made 25 threes last night, but when you have tired legs, you're not nearly as consistent as a shooter. And you start finicking and tweaking tiny things just to make sure you're getting enough air and rotation on shots. And I think over the course of time and the course of 16 games in 29 days, that caught up to Darius, and it was catching up to Donovan. And the fact that they're going to get a week off between their last regular season game, if not more now, because they may not play in the final 3 regular season games, and the playoffs is going to be a giant benefit for these guys to kind of get some of their legs back and get a chance to rest and recover and sleep, as stupid as that sounds. Sleep 8 hours in their own bed on consecutive nights for 2, 3, 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So, Jason, I'm not too worried about Darius. I can't make Darius make shots. Kenny Atkinson can't make Darius make shots. Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, whoever else can't make Darius make shots. But as long as he's getting those good looks, you have to live with the results. And nothing from Darius pre versus post tells me he's not getting to the places he needs to get to be effective and to make this Cavaliers offense hum at the level it has been humming at this season. So all those shooting slump concerns are valid, but trust the process. And the process has been good for Darius.
Agreed. Let's move on.
Let's talk a little DPOY, guys, after a quick word from FanDuel. FanDuel is the #1 sportsbook in America. With the NBA playoffs set to tip off, they have a new offer for new customers to the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you are a new member to the FanDuel Sportsbook, you can bet $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you get $250 in bonus bets to use. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS to get in on the action today. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Jason Lloyd. We have a podcast. We also have a YouTube show. And that gives us a tremendous platform to sway the voting on NBA awards.
Do you think I could win Defensive Player of the Year if I talked about it enough on the podcast?
We're going to find out, because you best be damned that I'm going to talk about next week my Sunday championship game performance if I lock down the former Cleveland State guard who's the leading scorer for the other team. But no, in all seriousness, Draymond Green a month ago was plus 3,000 on FanDuel to be Defensive Player of the Year. Plus 3,000. This was after Wemby got hurt, by the way. Wemby was going to run away with this award if he stayed healthy. When Wemby got hurt, the odds shifted dramatically. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Evan Mobley became the 2 betting favorites. And then as the season progressed with Wemby on the sideline, Mobley started to establish himself as the preemptive favorite to win DPOY. Then Jaren Jackson got hurt. And it looked like Evan Mobley had a clear path to winning his first ever Defensive Player of the Year award. And then Draymond went on his podcast and started a social media campaign as to why Draymond believed Draymond should win the DPOY. And it has started to catch like wildfire, Jason. And fast forward a month, after barely being on the books in the Defensive Player of the Year odds, Draymond Green isn't just the current favorite. He is the current heavy favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. According to the most recent FanDuel updated odds on Defensive Player of the Year, and it is loading right now, so you are literally getting the most up-to-date. It could not be more up-to-date. Draymond Green, that is finals MVP. I don't want finals MVP. I want just regular awards. Is minus 380 to win DPOY. Now, I will give you the floor first because I have pulled all the numbers, and I'm going to print this out and give this to BJ and the Cavaliers communication staff to give to all their players for the rest of the interviews they do this season to reference as to why Evan should be the DPOY. So I'll make my case for Evan after you go. But Jason, Evan Mobley should be the Defensive Player of the Year. I will prove to you why after you go first. What do you make of this whole public campaign for Draymond, which has now swayed the books dramatically?
It's exactly what I said on UCSS a few weeks ago. Nobody knows how to vote for this award. This is how you get crap like this. Draymond has a massive platform, and to his credit, like, I take nothing away from Draymond. Like, he's playing it right. This is why you have a podcast, so you can go out and do things like this, and you can say whatever you want, and you can frame your narrative however you want. It will be a travesty if Draymond steals DPOY from Evan Mobley. It will be a travesty. But this is an award that is very difficult for writers to vote on, because what is the criteria and what should they focus on? Chris Paul won it for a number of years because of steals. Meanwhile, while he's winning it, I've got players across the league telling me Chris Paul is an awful defender and he leaves his team in terrible positions because he's constantly chasing steals. Rudy Gobert won it because of blocks. And the Jazz had some very good defensive teams during those years, but voters just sort of latched onto blocks, and it very much becomes a narrative-driven award. because there is no, like, it's pretty easy to vote on MVP. It's pretty easy. Like, you may disagree with the end result, like Shea over Jokic, take your pick on that. But you know what you're measuring. You know what you're putting on the scale in that instance. With DPOY, it's sort of all over the place. And why I don't vote on it anymore. When I used to vote on it, I used to take heavy consideration from the players. I used to get a wide assortment of opinions from as many teams as I could on who do you like, who do guys like, and why. And this is really a shame that this has turned into this. And part of it, Evan needs to talk more. And it sounds silly, but he's got to get better with media, because it's going to end up costing him money out of his pocket if he doesn't, both endorsements and opportunities and awards and everything else. And that's why it was funny. You know, last night I came in at the end, Darius and Evan are on the podium together, and Darius is trying to make the case for Evan and then puts his second microphone in front of Evan, like, Evan, go, like, make your case. It's time to, you know, it feels, I think, awkward for Evan to sit here and sort of praise himself. You could just see that it's not very natural for him to do. But if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. It's literally tens of millions of dollars on the table for him if he makes this or
Yes.
not. And yeah, I mean, listen, he's going to live well for himself regardless if he wins it or not. But this is a big deal. And the Cavs should get behind it and push this. I know award ballots are already going in. It may already be a little bit too late in some instances, but Evan absolutely should win it. I'll let you put the numbers up to why. My eyes just tell me from watching the Cavs and from watching other teams. I don't watch every single Warriors game, but I've watched enough. Draymond is fine. Draymond is not the best defensive player in the league anymore.
He is not. And in the two games they played against each other this season, Jason, which is not part of the equation, that should not value, but it does, I think, if you're trying to split a tiebreaker. The Cavs beat the Warriors the first meeting, 136 to 117. Scored 136 points in their first meeting. In the second meeting, they scored 113 and held Golden State to 95. So
by the way,
yes.
That first game, the score again on that, can you repeat that?
136 to 117.
That's the game. First of all, that's the game where I stamped them. Okay, this is real, the Cavs. And that's also the game where I talked to Draymond in the visiting locker room and said, are they using Evan the way that you are used here? And he said, yes, with one difference. Evan is 7 feet tall, and was praising Evan for his ability and his size that Draymond doesn't have. So Draymond knows it too. But go ahead.
So I want to talk to you, not you, Jason. I want to talk to you specifically. I'll take my glasses off for a second before I have to read these stats. Evan Mobley is the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year this season. I will hear no other argument other than if you want to make a case for Lou Dort, because I have a special place in my heart for Lou Dort. But Draymond Green is not in the same stratosphere this season as Evan Mobley is in terms of importance to the team and their overall success defensively. Draymond is a good defender. He is a great defender. He is a Hall of Fame caliber defender. But this season, and the Defensive Player of the Year for the 2024-2025 season, is not a career achievement award. If it was, Draymond has a great resume and should be in the running to win it. But that is not what the award is, Jason. It's for what you do this season. And this season, there has been no question in my mind that the Cleveland Cavaliers are not only a better team than Golden State, but Evan Mobley has been a better defender than Draymond Green. And I pulled a bunch of numbers here that I think help illustrate the differences in their two DPOY campaigns. First off, I think your team record should play some factor into it. Winning matters, right? Defense wins championships. Well, the Cavs just clinched the 1 seed, Jason. They are 63-16 on the season. They're 2-0 against the Warriors. And for as good as Golden State has been of late, the Warriors are 47-32. And in this whole late season surge for Golden State, right? They're considered the hot team in the NBA, Jason. Am I putting that out of context? They're considered to be red hot while the Cavs have been struggling down the stretch. Is that fair?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler's totally flipped them.
Yeah, you want to hear something crazy? Since the All-Star break, the Cavs are 19-6 and the Warriors are 19-5. So is it really that different, or is it just perspective? Shout out to Justin Rowan of the Chase Down Pod for pulling that stat. The way we talk about these teams is drastically different. The record, 19-6 for Cleveland since the All-Star break, 19-5 since the All-Star break.
I think the difference there is the Cavs have been that team all year long. The Warriors were that team once they got Jimmy.
So once again, Jimmy Butler saving Draymond Green, because if the Warriors still suck, Draymond Green's not in this conversation. So overall games played this year, Mobley's played 70 games, Draymond's played 65. They both play about the same minutes per game, Jason. Mobley 30.4, Draymond 29.1. So we're looking in the same range. So none of these numbers are going to be drastically different. They're playing just about the same numbers. Rebounds, that's a big part of defensive efficiency. Closing out possessions, Mobley 6.3 rebounds per game, Draymond 6.1. Blocks, 1.6 for Evan Mobley, just 1 per game for Draymond Green. Steals, Draymond has a slight advantage. 1.4 for Draymond, 0.9 for Evan. So when you combine the two, it's a stat called stocks. Steals plus blocks. Pretty basic. Evan, 2.5. Draymond, 2.4. So Evan, the slight advantage there. When you look at their overall team defensive ratings, the Cavs and the Warriors are 8th and 7th in the NBA, respectfully. The Warriors, 7th with a 111 defensive rating. The Cavs, 8th with a 111.9 defensive rating. When Evan Mobley is on the court for Cleveland, their defensive rating is 108.6. That would rank 2nd in the NBA. When Evan Mobley is not on the court, Jason, their defensive rating, it goes back to what they've been as a team, 111.9, which ranks 8th. So there's a 3.3 difference in defensive rating when Evan is on the court versus when Evan is off the court. The Cavs are 3.3 points per 100 possessions in net rating better with Evan on than they are with Evan off. When you look at Draymond in those same categories, with Draymond on the court, the Warriors, 108.9 defensive rating, just 0.3 worse than the Cleveland Cavaliers. When Draymond's not on the court, the Warriors' defensive rating is 110.4, 1.5 points better than Cleveland's defensive rating without Evan Mobley on the court. So Evan Mobley's difference, his on-off difference, 3.3 points. Draymond Green's defensive rating on and off, 1.5 points. So the Warriors' defense, more than twice as good than the Cavs' defense is in terms of net rating, or in terms of defensive rating, when Evan isn't on and when Draymond isn't on. When you look at their field goal percentage against, basically the same. Overall, Evan has a 44.5% field goal percentage against. Draymond has a 43 field goal percentage against. Within the paint, and there's a caveat to this next stat I'll give you in a sec. Evan has a 54.4 field goal percentage defense. Draymond a 53.6 field goal percentage defense. So slightly better for Draymond. But on the perimeter against three-pointers, opposing players are shooting just 33% against Evan, 35% against Draymond. You want to get super nerdy. Defensive win shares, 3.7 for Evan, just 3.2 for Draymond. We talked about the box score plus minus and the record since the All-Star break. That slightly favors Draymond, but the one stat you can't calculate, Jason, there's no stat in any tracking metric, in any NBA.com website, in any synergy, is how many shots a guy, by his sheer presence, are not taken. Because there is not a stat that is, I probably should have took that shot, but Evan Mobley was in the paint, so I know better than to get my shit swatted to the 5th row. That doesn't happen with Draymond Green. I called around and asked 2 NBA guys this morning. Well, one last night, one this morning, and say, if you have any of your guys, pick any player on your team, and he's going up one-on-one against Draymond Green, is he going to try to dunk on him? Is he going to try to finish over him? Is he going to pull it out? They both said, well, one said he's going to try to dunk on him because he tries to dunk on everybody despite our best wishes. And the other guy said, oh, he's definitely finishing. He's not trying to pull it back out and work for a better shot. Then I asked the same question if it was Evan Mobley. And the one guy said he's going to try to dunk on him because he's going to try to dunk on every player despite our best wishes. And the other guy said, oh, he's turning around. He's going to pull it back out. There's no chance. And I don't have a number to track that. I don't have a specific number that indicates Evan's importance in terms of he's in the paint, so we are not going to put up a shot versus Draymond's. But I can assure you that the number of times guys drive into the paint, see Evan there, and pivot back out versus the time that they do that for Draymond is night and day. Evan is 6'11". He switches on guys 1 through 5. He's one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA for players 6'10" or taller. The Cavs don't help. Darius said it yesterday. When Evan switches on guards, we stay at home. Why? Because we have that much confidence in Evan Mobley. I think he's better as a help side defender, Jason, than he is as the point of attack defender or even the primary rim protector. Evan has unlocked this Cavaliers defense to do basically anything they want. They can switch, they can hedge, they can fight over screens, they can ice. Why? Because you have a unicorn, a defensive unicorn in Evan Mobley on the back end to help clean up any other mess. And as good as Draymond Green maybe defensively. And as good as he has been defensively this season, because I don't want this to come across as Draymond's not good defensively. He is. He is not as good and has not been as good or as impactful to the team defense as Evan Mobley has been this season. And I'm sure there are numbers for contested shots and overall deflections that you could find to help back that up. I didn't have the time to go through and find every single number, Jason, but even the traditional numbers I kind of looked at, plus the eye test, plus the overall team success, there should be no question. The Vegas books are wrong. Evan Mobley should be, and I hope will be, and would get my vote if I had a vote for the 2024-2025 Defensive Player of the Year.
You know, very well done. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. I'm going to clip that. I'm going to post that on the YouTube page.
I was talking to somebody with the Cavs last night about all of this, and we agreed. I think Jarrett's presence hurts Evan's case in this, and it's unfortunate. But I think voters will look and say, yeah, but he's got Jarrett Allen next to him. And who does Draymond have? And I mean, you know, Jimmy's probably a much better defender. He's not as good as he once was, but he's still a pretty good defender, but he's not in that elite category that we're talking about here. So I do think that Jarrett's presence hurts Evan's case if you don't watch him play every night. And the number of people voting on this award, I mean, the Cavs have had a lot of national games, but I just think that you need to watch Evan to really appreciate everything that he can do. And you laid it out perfectly there with his ability to guard 1 through 5. And the on-off court splits, I think, are really important in this instance because, of course, Jarrett Allen is a great defender. Of course, he helps the Cavs team defense. Their biggest strength is to be able to pair those guys together on the defensive end, at least when they're out there together. But when you see the dip when Evan is not out there, that is telling to me, and that helps support his case. So I don't have a dog in the fight, but certainly I think Evan is deserving of it. I think he should win it. I hope he does win it because I just think it would be a real shame that Draymond basically, and I'm not blaming him. Again, I'm not blaming Draymond. This is why you do this. But I think he will have very much manipulated this entire thing with his podcast. If this actually turns out this way, and it shouldn't, and shame on the NBA voters if they're swayed by it, because I think probably because it was going to be Wemby before he got hurt, and so I don't know that they look at Evan as a viable candidate because he wasn't going to win had it not been for an injury. So I think that opens the field for everybody, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that properly.
It does.
But it's not like Evan was the clear favorite all year long. He wasn't. No. It was going to be Wemby. And then when Wemby goes down, it sort of opens the field to everybody and allows Draymond to sort of pull this and to do this. But hopefully it doesn't go that way. Hopefully Evan wins it because I think he is absolutely deserving of it. And again, this is a big deal with where he's at on his contract, and because he's entering max next year and it's dependent on this, it is a significant difference in his next contract if he wins this or not.
What I'm going to say, Jason, is not a slight on Jarrett Allen whatsoever, who I also believe is a very, very, very good defensive player. But with Jarrett Allen on the court this season, the Cavs have a net rating of 111.5. So 111.5. Their team net rating overall this season is 111.9. 111.5 when Jarrett's on the court. When Jarrett's off the court, the defensive rating gets better by almost 2 full points. Their defensive rating with Jarrett off the court is a 109.2. So that goes to show you the impact. As good as Jarrett Allen is, they're actually better defensively when Evan is at the 5. And if you're going to take away votes from Evan because of what Jarrett Allen does, Jimmy Butler is still an awesome freaking defender, and that should be the same knock against Draymond Green in voters' minds. Evan should be your defensive player of the year. If anyone else besides Evan should be the winner, it should be Lou Dort. I mean, it still should be Evan, but if anyone else outside of Evan's going to win it, it should be Lou Dort. Why? Because the Thunder have historically good defense. He draws the toughest assignment every night. And look what he did to Donovan Mitchell in those 2 games.
I also don't think that it's a coincidence that we're talking about 2 small market teams fighting for oxygen on this while Draymond can talk his way to the title.
Well, Evan, there's my message to Evan, Darius, Donovan, whoever. And maybe Donovan, with he's hurt now, will be more open to this. We have one of the biggest YouTube platforms in Cleveland. Our Cavs coverage is more views than anything else in the city. I can guarantee you that. Come on. I will give you the cheat sheet. You can campaign for Evan Mobley for DPOY just like Draymond did. And I promise you we will get that message out to as many people as humanly possible. I'm going to extend that invite. I'm going to send this clip to BJ and the Cavs PR staff. You want anyone to come on to campaign for Evan as DPOY, we will give you an hour of the show. I'll look up every advanced analytic possible that makes Draymond look like a subpar defender compared to Evan and puts Evan in the highest light possible. So there's the offer. Don't say we didn't make it, guys. But Evan, the floor is yours, and the invite is withstanding whenever you want to come on and campaign for yourself, or you can send in one of your buddies, one of your teammates to do it for you. We'll take whoever to campaign and to push the Evan for DPOY agenda.
All jokes aside, Evan does have to get better with talking in media. He has gotten better. He's gotten significantly better from where he was as a rookie, but he's not there yet. And you don't have to have your own podcast. You don't have to be Draymond in terms of media, or Donovan. Donovan's fantastic at it too. You don't have to be that good, but you have to help yourself. You have to help your cause. And I don't think that he's done a good enough job. His teammates have talked more for him than he has. He's got to get better at doing some of the media stuff. It's part of the game, and he's only cost himself in the long run.
This is a comment from J47 before we wrap. Invite Evan on the show next time you're at a presser. We got something in the works real quick with the Cavs thing next week. I've been trying to get the issue with them is their practice time and our show time don't coincide is the issue. They practice from 10 to 12:30 and then are in the locker. It's not ideal timing for us, but we will move hell and high water, Jason, to get one of these guys on if they want to come on and talk Evan. So we will do our best. I promise you, I'm going to send BJ an email as soon as we get off this, Jason, about the story I'm working on for next week, plus an open invite to anyone. We'll take Imani Bates, Naquan Tomlin, you name it. The new guy they signed, Okiki from Orlando. If Okiki wants to come on, he's known Evan for literally 3 days and tell us why he's a DPOY. We'll make it work. That's going to do it for this edition of the Cavs and Coffee Ultimate Cavaliers Show. Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets coming at you. And Jason, let me just say this. It feels good to cover the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Basketball is fun again in Cleveland. Full credit to Kobe and his staff. Full credit to Kenny Atkinson and his staff. I remember saying when LeBron left, it will never be like this again. Like they'll never be able to replicate what he was able to do here. And by God, they have. And they did it the hard way. No shortcuts. They did it organically. They did it through the draft. They did it developing talent on the margins. And the Cavs are back, and they get all the credit in the world for it.
That's going to do it. Jason Lloyd, I'm Mikey McNuggets. We'll see you in 2 hours and 12 minutes for the main show, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Have a good one, guys. Go Cavs. Peace.